the point is, it is the value proposition, the cost-benefit ratio that seem to be important. Okay, I'll not talk about that, but it just shows that the NDVI indicator is not a terribly shabby indicator, and that that there is a chance, the red dots, of about 15% that given the historical data, about 10–15% chance that you will need at some point to pay out this kind of product. Okay, so what in the broad picture of things, what we think is this project going to contribute? We think that it will be important if we understand how to get these seeds out, bundle them with an insurance product, encourage farmers to use these seeds consistently. That is important in developing the seed industry in the country and beyond. In terms of the long-term food security, it is important for as many farmers as is economical and is practical to use the current generation hybrids that are high yielding and that impart a sizable degree of resilience to farmers. The aggregate impacts should be positive for the sector, for individual households, and for the country as well. What exactly, what's the most optimal product that needs to be worked at? I've mentioned behavioral anomalies. We need economists to work very hard to get good, optimal, affordable products. And of course, the fact that looking at multiple risk management technologies is an important thing in managing risk, okay? So we think that once we complete this project successfully, we will be able to have some information on how to design an optimal insurance product for smallholders. We will also be able to here, and of course financial inclusion. If you're able to connect farmers to an insurance company, that's a very giant step towards making them participate in the financial markets. Farmers who are insured can also participate in credit markets. They can take that risk to borrow the $30, $40, $50 to buy fertilizer because of the peace of mind from this product. So the financial inclusion aspects of it can come out, and we hope that we can talk about that. How to motivate greater investments in technology adoption, how to achieve the resilience and the welfare potential of crop improvement, new generation of hybrids that need to go into farmers' fields. They have a welfare potential, but that potential can only happen if these hybrids exist in farmers' fields. Could these kinds of products help in that process? Could this kind of product help in that process? So how to achieve the resilience and the welfare potential of these, the emerging resilient varieties, as well as these innovative financial products.
Kinds of approaches to these kinds of risks. Mine is just a clarification from Abu, comparing the ARC and the donor response. I don't know what calculations you have made for the donor responses in case of drought, because sometimes there's no response for a long time. And comparing them directly, I don't know how you manage that because of the non-comparability, because donor response sometimes doesn't come at all. That's the clarification I wanted.
Okay. Have you started paying out yet for those that are, suffering from the risks that are being insured, and how big is that payout in relation to the premium that they pay for the seed when they get insured?
And the idea of a 2-year drought not being sufficient to trigger a payment, whereas a 4-year drought is more attractive. And I'm looking at the map that you showed, and in all those countries, I wonder what a drought benchmark is, what amounts to a drought, because in northern Kenya you can go definitely 2 years, maybe 3 years, sometimes 4 years, and you don't have rain. So what would be the attraction of applying, of enrolling, especially when, as Prof says, sometimes there isn't even a donor response. Shouldn't the AU be taking a bigger responsibility for the fact that member states actually experience persistent drought rather than hoping that donors are going to step in?
Yeah.
My question goes to Abu. You mentioned that the payment is normally determined by an index that is triggered. How do you determine the threshold for the payout? And then, because these are country kind of responses, and some countries are more exposed to drought than others, so some countries are more likely to get into the program than others. So which brings in the problem of adverse selection. I don't know how you are able to go around that.
I have the summary of the project here with me. Please pick a copy from Sophie. Or Sophie will just give you one, and you don't have a choice of refusing.
All right. I'll start with the question from Professor Willis. The donor response that we consider to have a counterfactual, we needed a counterfactual, right? So we are saying ARC is providing this product. You take an insurance with ARC. We want to compare that to another situation, right? That situation, as an economist, you can either take it, a donor is given a lump sum to the government, or the government is taking it from its budget. The same thing, right? It will be the same minus small c there. So it doesn't matter in terms of modeling the outcome you come to, okay? This, my assumption is why did I assume it is a lump sum coming from a donor? Because the initial design of ARC was the premium would be paid for by the donor. But actually, that's not the case. For all the countries that have taken this insurance, in 2014, there were 6 countries, or 5 countries that took this insurance: Senegal, Niger, Mauritania, Mali, and Kenya. Okay? 3 got the payout. Niger, Senegal, and Mauritania got a total amount of 26 million payout because they experienced a drought that was triggered, right? Kenya didn't get it because it wasn't, the threshold was not hit. All right. So this is just a matter of modeling, right? It's not necessarily the donor paying. Those premiums were paid by the countries and from their budget. On the drought that are with frequency of 2 years, 3 years, you know, a big drought, a big severe drought will not come every 2 years, That's, you will have drought, but not as severe as we think we should push countries to take insurance for. So we acknowledge those droughts will be there, okay? But insurance, and there's an agreement among practitioners, insurance is not the right financial product to take care of those type of events. Right? If I know for sure that every 2 years I'm going to hit by drought, I would rather put something on the side to take care of that. That's the conception here. The ARC product will be taking care of rare events that are severe in magnitude, and that country will be having a hard time to respond to. So, and that's all insurance. That's the concept, isn't it? And the last question on the country threshold. The threshold are country-based. Okay, the customization is done within the country by a technical team from different ministries. They are trained. They know the country better. They have the statistics. The index that we use is the one is not NDVI. Now we have requests from people, specifically Kenya, to use the BCI, which is an index derived from the NDVI. So the country will determine what level, depending on the number of people affected. You have all this drought. This is frequency of 2 years, frequency of 5 years. I will go for the drought of frequency of 6 years, for example. And out of that, I will internalize, let's say 60%. Okay. Beyond that, I will need somebody to help me, and that's the insurance will cover for that. And that calculation is done by the country team with assistance from our technical team. I hope that answers your question.